Hello, and welcome to episode 128 of Flix in the Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the constable, Alessandro Palsi. Say hello, Al.
I was embarrassed to only a few days ago learn that Ore-Ida potatoes are named for Oregon and Idaho potatoes.
Huh. Interesting. I didn't know that. I still don't know that.
Well, now you do.
On this week's episode, a Star Wars, light musings, and other ramblings, all before diving into our flick of the week, the interview. Not that one. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
Yeah, almost certainly not the one you're thinking of. And if you are thinking of this one, you know what?
Kudos.
Yeah, I guess so. We're drinking Shiner Wicked Juicy IPA from Spetzel Brewery in Shiner.
Should have probably done another Boondock Saints with this one.
What's that?
Just because of Wicked.
Oh.
You're wicked smart.
It's from Shiner, Texas. 77984 area code, I believe, or zip code, I believe. Every drop of Shiner is brewed in Shiner, Texas. Enjoy Shiner beer. This dry hopped and unfiltered IPA is bursting with a rush of tropical hops for a bright, juicy kick. 12 fluid ounces, 5.7% alcohol by volume, 60 IBUs.
All right.
I believe that smell that I said, whoa, when I opened it, because I opened it slightly before you. I believe I was smelling the tropical fruits.
Yeah, I could see that.
I want to say, like, mango and papaya is what I smelled, and it's been a very long time since I've had a papaya, and that's probably why I struggled to identify it at first.
What about guava?
Oh, I don't believe I think I've had guava juice mixed in with other juice, but I've never had guava on its own.
Sure. Yeah, I've had the Rockstar that I used to drink before I learned how terrible it was for you. Was
what?
Guava, and it was amazing.
Wait, they made a guava flavored energy drink?
Dude, it was so good. It was a purple can.
I had heard that Rockstar actually used to have really good flavors. I don't know if they still do or not.
Yeah, they did.
It's funny.
Purple can and green can. Delicious cans.
I literally am only familiar with the white and black cans. It's funny because I had this conversation with someone the other day about Rockstar. Because, like, around, let's call it 2003, Rockstar...
It was the year 2003.
Rockstar owned the energy market. I had never heard of Red Bull, I don't think, at that point. Monster was really just kind of coming onto the scene nationally. Rockstar was the energy drink, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't remember. I kind of remember maybe Monster being first, but if not, it was close second.
It may have been first, but I feel like Rockstar had better, like, public awareness. Like, it was.
Well, Rockstar was very in your face about themselves.
Yeah, well, I'm saying Rockstar was in every movie and TV show from that time period.
Right, and it was also like they sponsored every concert I ever went to.
Yeah, that too. That's what I'm saying. But, they were the drink. Yeah,
me and Chris used to get this purple one, and it was so good. We always described it as sexy in a can, because it was the sexiest drink we could find.
Okay,
and it was so good, so delicious, and really got the juices flowing. It's that's the first couple times you have it. Then you start to realize it has no effect on you anymore, and you're like, oh boy, I am too used to this drink. That's not great. And then you're just having it because you want it, and it's not doing anything for you. And it's like, I don't know, 10:30 on a weeknight, you're drinking a Rockstar, and then you're just going to sleep. and you realize you've made some terrible life choices. But I had this one instance where I was really, really into Guitar Hero. I think it was 2. And I was pounding the purple Rockstar.
Nice.
And it was the first time that I 100%ed a song on Expert.
Nice.
Or whatever the top one is. And I was just like, it's all you. It's all you, sexy in a can. So good. But yeah, the last time I had one of those was on a work trip to DC, where we used to have our... we used to go... Well, we weren't in DC. It was with the DC crew. But those people knew how to party. Like, you would... It's like we would have meetings all day, and then it would just be a nonstop party until the next morning, when we would all be back in another meeting, and nobody was prepared for it because everybody was out the night before. But that was the last time that I had one, and because I found it, and like for the longest time it was gone. The purple can couldn't be found. And I found it. I was so excited. Sent a picture to Chris. I was like, dude, it does exist. It wasn't just in our imagination.
It was just one that was left around from 5 years earlier.
Oh, it tasted that way. And I don't know if that's just because that's how it tastes, or if it actually was from that long ago. But man, they'll get you. That got me through one of their crazy nights after another 2 days of meetings before
I was going to
that,
say,
so.
I mean, I could see you being an energy drink guy back then. Like, not back then from DC, because that's within the last 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
But I could see you being like high school, like college, being an energy drink guy. But for most of the last 5-6 years, I could never see you going anywhere near one.
Oh yeah, for sure. College definitely. There was one. That's one. There was a refrigerator in the student lounge that would occasionally have Purple Can. I bought all of them one day because I was like, because this was around the time where they were starting to get harder and harder to find. And I bought them all. I just figured I would take them with me, and then I'd have them. I put them in the fridge.
Yeah.
And then I could grab one whenever I want. I drank like 2 that day, and that's a lot. 1 is a lot in a day. And I'd had 2. I was flying.
I was just thinking back to, I guess it wasn't that long ago, but there was one New Year's when you tried to make Red Bull and vodka a thing for that night.
Oh, did not try. We did it. Jay was there.
Well, you made it a thing. It was just a thing I rebelled against because I can't stand Red Bull. And I can't stand vodka. So you mixed 2 of my least favorite things to consume into one drink. So it was never going to work for me.
For the record, it was grape vodka. And it was, terrible.
I thought it was cherry vodka.
We had that. We had cherry vodka also, but the grape was the one that Jay and I would drink.
Sounds terrible.
It was, and I don't like vodka either. So I don't know what that was about. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. That's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
it's just like uppers and downers in one glass, just putting you on the floor. Oh man, and it tastes like if. Well, I don't know. It's all sugar. You basically take a sip of it, and it's like you're drinking like you feel the granulated sugar pouring down your throat. It's horrible.
First of all, let's be clear.
This.
There's no granulation. That is pure fructose corn syrup.
Oh my god! Wait, hang on. Two more energy drink stories. First off, Chris used to find all these random ones, and when he would try them out, if they were decent, he would give me one. So that's how we came across Purple Can. That's how we came across Green Can, which is also very good. And then I don't know what these flavors were actually called. The purple one was definitely guava. But then he came to me with this imported Monster, and I was like, "What is going on here?" And then it became very clear to me, like Chris was like the closest thing to a drug dealer that I was dealing with. And he would just have these goods and services that were imported. And he gave me this one Monster drink that has a little tab on the top. It's got this fancy little, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's not like a regular like can with a pop tab. There's like a twisty thing on it. And you slide it over to the side and you hear the can like crunch and open underneath. Very bizarre. You could reseal it. There's a resealable can.
Was it Game Fuel?
No, it was Monster Import.
Because Game Fuel has the resealable tab.
Very weird.
Actually, I believe they brand it as resealable technology, which actually kind of makes me mad a little bit.
Naturally. That one was also pretty good. So of the energy drinks that you shouldn't be drinking, there's 3.
It reminds me of the episode of Archer where they can't break down this door. I think it's on a space station. They go to a space station for 2 episodes, and the people they're fighting with on the other side, they lock the door, and the guy goes, "What is this door made of mithril?" And they're like, and then the superior comes and what the hell is going on? Why isn't this door open yet? He goes, it's impossible to break. It's made with some sort of dwarven technology. And he's beating the shit out of him. He says, "Say dwarven technology one more time."
Oh God. The final energy drink story that I need to tell you is I'm pretty sure that I brought it up on the show before, but I'm not certain. There was it was years ago. We went to also Chris is involved in all of my energy drink stories. We went to an Ozfest on Randall's Island, and it was sponsored by Red Bull, and they were giving away free Red Bull, and they ran out of water. So it was a nightmare. Like
All
it was
they
just
had was Red Bull.
it's extremely energized dehydration. Like I don't know how to it was horrible. I've never felt so terrible than I did the day after that.
This dehydration is making me slothful, but this caffeine is making me not.
And all at once their hearts exploded.
Yeah. See, it's funny because just as I was thinking, I can't really see Anthony drinking energy drinks. I also, now that you've mentioned it, think I can only see Chris drinking energy drinks.
Amazing. All right. We've rambled long enough without trying this thing. Shall we give this beer a taste?
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, it smells delightful. I'm not even going to sip it. I'm just going to keep sniffing it.
My only issue with this beer, and I've already had this one, is that it does smell delightful, and for whatever reason, the taste doesn't seem to match those smells to me. I don't know if maybe
The
I'm
taste
broken.
matches. It's just that it smells so aggressively of tropical fruit, but it tastes only a hint of tropical fruit.
Yeah,
It's almost entirely nose.
it's very strange, but it's good.
This is something that happens when you dry hop beers, and this is probably the right beer to talk about that specific phenomenon. Where I mentioned it when a few weeks ago. Oh, you and Caleb were asking me about some of those like specifics of like how hops work in beer,
Right.
and I said, the ones you put at the beginning is the bitterness, and this one I think is a little bit out of whack. The bitterness I think is a little bit too much for the level of malt that it has.
Sure.
I feel it like the residual bitterness just kind of sitting on my palate.
Okay.
And then, ones towards the end of the boil impart a lot of flavor, the hop flavor to the beer. And ones done post boil / during the fermentation, like a dry hopping in fermentation. But even ones done at knockout, when you cut the heat and you put them in, and the temperature is now starting to fall below boiling, it can still activate some of the alpha acids at that point, but not very much of it. It's almost entirely aroma. And this one, these hops not smelling, like quote unquote hop, like traditional IPA, like 4C's American hops, like smell. This is a good one to examine that, where you don't really taste much of the tropical, but you smell it very aggressively. And that's from post-boil hop additions.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's few and far between do we get the beer insights like this. It's Flix and a 6, but it's the 6 is becoming more and more of an afterthought.
Well, actually, I feel like we've gone the opposite direction in some of the recent months. I think we've actually spent more time talking about beer at times.
Because we're drinking more of them during the show.
Well, there's that too. But I mean, even in our opening
That's fair.
thing, part of it is, when we came up with the name, the original thought was we were going to sit down and have like a few beers and talk about a few movies for 1 hour. Now we talk about one movie kind of, and one beer kind of, and many, many, many other things, and it's for more than 1 hour, like a lot more.
Yeah. It should be Flix and a 6 and Nuggets.
The title's too unwieldy.
There's something there. There's something we'll workshop it.
Yeah.
But anyway, what do you give this guy?
This is a solid beer. I feel like you would give this one thumb, probably, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm.
This is solid. I would drink this. It is a little bit more bitter than I'd like it to be for the overall flavor profile of the beer, but it's not like a bad thing. Like I enjoy the beer. It's fine.
Question. This is Shiner. Are they how big are they?
Shiner's pretty big. I mean, it kind of
they are, right?
They're a national brand, but it depends on where you go. Like in Texas, you see Shiner everywhere. Everyone knows Shiner Bock. Really great, solid, commercial. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I mean, I don't know if they're still considered craft or whatever, but they're not Budweiser. You know what I mean?
Well, that's kind of why I was asking though, because there's something about it that tastes for lack of a better word, manufactured. I feel like when I've had craft beers, there's a little bit of nuance in each of them, even from the same batch almost. They're not always perfectly consistent, but every one that I've had of these has been like that, but almost to a point where it feels artificial.
This specific beer or
this
Shiner
one?
Beers?
This specific one, because I had I think a whole 6 of these, maybe more.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. I don't know. I didn't have time to look at that ahead of time, obviously, so I don't know what they are, like how big they're considered.
Sure.
I know that sometimes their ability to reproduce the Shiner Bock is really excellent, but it is a lager, so there shouldn't be much variance, or any at all. And they've been making that beer for a long, long time, so like they've perfected their process on that. So I expect it to be nearly perfectly repeatable on, we'll say, analogous to something like Sam Adams Boston Lager.
Sure.
And Sam Adams is probably, or Dogfish Head is probably the right one to bring up. I'm guessing. I could be wildly wrong, and who knows, maybe they turn out 30 million barrels a year. I have no idea, but I like their brewery. I like Shiner Bock. If I'm going to pick a like quote unquote like generic-ish like beer, and Bock's not super generic, right? It's a very dark beer. It's not a heavy beer, and people conflate dark with heavy, and often it's true, but it's really not. They don't mean the same thing.
Sure.
I love that beer. You can drink that when it's hot out. I mean, it's from fucking Texas. Like I would happily drink a Shiner Bock during a barbecue in the summer. But I've had a couple of their beers.
Some hot barbecue sauce. I made hot barbecue sauce the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it wasn't BLC hot barbecue sauce.
No, there's I don't want to hurt myself, but I definitely went a little bit more than I should have, even though, and it was hot. It was occasionally I would get one of the peppers that was still in there, and it was knocked me on my ass.
But anyway, Shiner makes one. I always forget what it's called, but I always remember what's in it, and it's prickly pear. And it's a seasonal beer that they do in spring or summer. I think it might be out around now. And I've had it, I know, in a couple of different years, so I don't think it was a one-off. But I forget which one that's specifically called, but that's a really nice. Did you
ever eat a prickly pear?
No.
Strange fruit.
That's part of why I bought the beer when I saw it, because I was like, I like Shiner.
What is this?
And prickly pear makes me, just hearing the word prickly pear
makes you giggle.
Makes me smile, yeah. So
of course.
We're going to make this happen. And it's
if
nice,
it doesn't, you're dead inside.
Yeah.
That's an actual fruit that exists. We were naming fruits, and it was pear, and then that one had bumps on it. Prickly pear.
What are we going to call this one? Pear. What are we going to call this one? Prickly pear.
Oh man, way to stretch outside the box. There is I ate one once, years ago, because I was very curious, and I don't remember anything about it. But we used to go to Chevy's all the time. Have you ever been to Chevy's?
I don't believe so.
Mexican restaurant chain. It's very good, mediocre food. It's as far as those restaurant chains go, it's delightful. And
it's on the Texas Roadhouse, Chevy's,
sure, yeah,
like chain food, but you're not embarrassed to go there.
Exactly. It's it feels like a night out. They also serve bulldogs, which are the Corona upside down in the margarita, which are delightful.
Bulldogs?
Yeah,
I've heard it called a Corona Rita. That might have been a trademarked name, though.
Yeah, it's possible. But
I think that was at a chain that you'd be embarrassed to say that you went to.
Where is that?
I think it was Applebee's.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Anytime I think of Applebee's, I think of waiting, though, because it's clearly that. I know it's Fuddruckers, really, but it's it's definitely Applebee's.
See, whenever I think of Applebee's, I think of Talladega Nights and the commercial, them getting thrown out of the Applebee's, and then they have the commercial during the 10-minute long crash scene.
Of course. But back to Chevy's, though, they have these flautas that are just crack. They're so good. And they serve them with a side of prickly pear jelly.
Wow. Okay.
And it's delicious.
Exotic.
Again, I know that I tried the prickly pear once because I was interested. But of the things that I've had that are prickly pear flavored, I remember those. Don't remember the prickly pear at all. But I miss Chevy's. I haven't been there in a very long time.
Prickly pear is still more inventive a name than ugly fruit.
Is that a thing?
I believe so.
That is a thing. You're right.
It was churning in my head, and I was like, am I making that up? No, I think that's a real thing.
I think you're right. Have you ever seen a jackfruit?
I don't know.
It's terrifying. Go, everybody, everybody. If you've never seen a jackfruit, Google a jackfruit, and then Google like jackfruit scale or something, so that you can see exactly how large this thing is.
I mean, I see it hanging on a tree, so it's probably pretty large.
It's insane
I'm
and
confused
terrifying.
by it.
Same. How does one approach the jackfruit?
It looks like a lot of little fruits inside of a big fruit.
First, you bow. Oh man. You want to get some news and nuggets?
Yeah, let's do it. I have a bunch of news, all of it Star Wars related.
Oh, I'm excited. So one of the things I said to Al earlier this week was you look up the Star Wars news and then you break it to me.
Okay.
Partly because it would be more fun for me to find it out from you so that we could be excited about it together. And two, I simply was just too fried each day after the computer to look things up.
Okay, so. I'm going to start. Well, don't even get me started, because that's me right now. And I probably won't fall asleep in the middle of my own sentence, which has definitely never happened to me before.
I gracefully edited that out.
I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Honestly, I've never, ever been embarrassed by anything in this show. I don't mind laughing at myself. I was truly ashamed of that happening.
It's stored right now in a folder called B-roll, of which there's like 4 files. One of them, I'm pretty sure, is just us completely incoherent because we drank too much after an episode, and it like was still running. But I saved this clip from last week, and one day maybe we'll release it to the wild as like a goof. But Al is talking about something, can't find the word, then starts talking again, and then just says blue. Yes. Out of nowhere.
Yes.
Like, not related to anything. And he just shuts down.
Yeah, literally shut down, as in my brain went into REM sleep.
I think I fell asleep.
I not think. I'm 100% certain. I don't remember it exactly. What I remember is the feeling of my heart started racing because I felt the shame dripping out of my pores.
The only thing
I
that
knew that I must have fallen asleep
dripping out of my.
I could not account for what I was saying.
The only thing that could have made that better was if you had actually nodded off, and I went, "Ow," and you went, "The clown has no penis."
Well, before I came down here, I was like, because my sister was down here working on something, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna need it." I was like, "You can keep working until we're ready to record, like in earnest." And she goes, "Try not to fall asleep this time." And I was like, "Yeah, no, thanks." I was like,
nice.
I don't remember what was happening. It was very obvious I fell asleep. I certainly didn't mean to. I am quite tired. I said to her, I was like, I'm gonna have to tell Anthony, we're gonna have to take like every 15 minutes, like a break. Let me go run a lap around the basement. Start going again. And then every time it's gonna be like, why is he winded every 15 minutes or so?
Oh man. I only have one new nugget jam.
Well, I have 3 news. They're all Star Wars.
All right, so we'll do mine, and then we'll just be Star Wars Central.
Okay.
This one, because mine is really dumb, and it was just one of those title stories from IGN, and I didn't even dig any deeper into it because from the title I didn't need to know any more information, and it was that Tom Cruise is working with Elon Musk and NASA so that they can shoot the first narrative movie in space. And I went, and then I was like, Al's gonna love this.
Don't get me started on fucking Elon Musk.
But anyway, that's a thing that's apparently happening.
Yeah, you know another thing that's happening? Did you see the kid that him and Grimes had and that they fucking named it?
That what?
They named their child something that's literally unintelligible.
What is it?
I don't know how to say it. Look it up.
If you had made one of the noises from Galaxy Quest, that would have been perfect.
For all I know, that's how you pronounce it. Let me look it up, and I will.
Our translator's broken.
Yeah. Let me look it up. I will spell it for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
If I can find it, here we go. You would have thought it would have just popped up now because that's what's going on. Well, the last name's Musk, so that makes it super easy, right?
Okay.
X space, and I believe this symbol is called ash. It's the intertwined A and E that is pronounced like an E sound typically. A-12, that's the end of the first name. X-A-12.
Wait, there's a space though, right? You said space?
I keep seeing it represented with space between the X and the Ash.
I thought the X space was some sort of play on SpaceX. But
no.
Anyway. Oh, did I make you even more mad?
No.
Okay.
No, because everyone's been trying to interpret what this means, and I think some people may have gotten some of it, and then Grimes sent out an unintelligible tweet about it. Yeah,
Wow.
It's
all right. That's fun.
Of all the special, ridiculous names that exist in this world, this is the specialist and most ridiculous of them.
The only reason I'm mad, name your kid, name yourself, do whatever you want. I actually don't. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when you have to write software that supports a name field, and now you have to deal with this shit.
You know how many name fields are going to kick back? This is not a valid name when that kid tries to input their information.
Oh man, that's infuriating. That can go to hell with time zones. I'm just done with time zones. I've been in time zone hell for weeks.
Wow, sentences you don't expect to hear. I've been in time zone hell for weeks. Let's get into
always
some
something.
Star Wars news. I'm done.
Give me the Star Wars. Give me all the Star Wars.
We're going to go in ascending order from least important / exciting news to most important / exciting news.
Okay.
First new. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order update lets you build your own combat challenges.
Ooh.
They announced, this was from a couple days ago on Star Wars Day. It's Star Wars Day, and Respawn Entertainment is celebrating by giving Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order a shiny new update. The free update includes new cosmetics, combat challenges in arenas pulled from different areas in the game, and the ability to customize your own combat challenges. The new cosmetics include a variety of new paint jobs for BD1, but more importantly, you can finally turn Cal's lightsaber red.
Ooh, okay.
The new color comes with the new Inquisitor uniform outfit as well.
What?
And makes Cal look like one of the elite Jedi hunters he spends the game fighting.
Helmet too, or no helmet?
It doesn't say. The update will also let players jump back into the story mode with the new Journey Plus feature, which lets players use all their previously unlocked cosmetics.
Yes! That came out? That's a thing? Is that free?
Parenthetical.
I'm so excited.
New Journey Plus will unlock the red lightsaber and Inquisitor uniform for Cal.
Yes! Okay, so I 100%ed that game and loved every minute of it. Which is a weird thing to say when you didn't do all of the stuff. But as far as the game score is concerned, what? I got all of them.
I'm confused.
100% of the game is like getting all the unlocking everything and getting all the achievements in my mind. But I didn't play the game on Grandmaster.
Oh, okay.
So,
no, but you 100%ed that difficulty, so it still counts.
Yeah, that's true. I have everything. I unlocked all of it. Yeah. And I really, all I could think about while I was doing that was, man, I'm ready to play the game again. And then when I completely finished it and went back to the menu and found that there was no way for me to start a new game and keep all of this stuff, I was very upset.
Well, here's your invitation to get back into it.
Oh, this is great. This is exactly what I needed. I'm all ready to play other things right now. And I'm just gonna end up playing the thing I already played. This is how video games always seem to go for me.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but it's also a testament to how good of a game it is.
It's so good. I also want to see how much of the game am I going to be breaking by having everything already. I'm looking forward to that.
That's a good question. Well, they may not keep you with the powers. I think it just might be the cosmetics and stuff.
Oh.
Because
I want my skill
tree. The narrative,
Yeah, sure.
Because otherwise you would break the game.
I'll report back when I actually do that.
Yeah, it just says cosmetics. But that being said, as much as I understood why it was done from a narrative perspective, I did regret that you got to have different colors of lightsaber only at the very end of the game.
Sure.
I wish I had more time to be able to play through it with different colors.
I definitely felt that way the first time I played through the game. But the second time, where after I played through the story and then I went and got everything else, then I felt like I was able to spend more time with my fancy color. Also, I changed my lightsaber like, I don't know, 4 times an hour. When it was ridiculous. I would be like, I'll take this hilt, or ooh, this emitter. Ooh, you know what? Let me change the color. Ooh, but what about this? And then I was like, what if I could do one color on one side and one on the other?
I'm actually really upset they didn't let you do it, but I guess it makes a certain amount of sense because, one crystal or whatever. But although technically it was 2 crystals at that point.
It was. When you hit the button for the first time that breaks your lightsaber in 2 and you start attacking things, I was like, I am ultimate power. I am ultimate power.
I wish they gave you a little bit more that you could do with it. Like, there was literally 2 moves. I wish they gave you a little bit more with that.
Sure. I'm just really excited to see like what a sequel to that eventually looks like, because if you're just building on this insane foundation, it's going to be unreal.
Well, that's a perfect segue because new news. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, start of new franchise, EA confirms.
Yeah!
There could be more Jedi Fallen Order on the way. This is on IGN.
Yes!
The last one was on Polygon. EA CEO Andrew Wilson confirmed that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order will be the start of a new franchise, suggesting more games, including a Jedi Fallen Order 2, are being planned. During an earnings call, EA CEO Andrew Wilson, did we really have to do that a second time, said that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is the first title in an entirely new franchise. This is the first official confirmation that Jedi Fallen Order isn't a one-off adventure. This isn't too surprising considering the success of Jedi Fallen Order, experienced critically and financially since its release. During an investor call last year, Blake Jorgensen said that Jedi Fallen Order, quote, significantly beat our expectations and was expected to sell over 10 million units. Respawn's also put up job listings in recent months, specifically looking to fill senior positions on the Star Wars team. I hint that Respawn was working on more Star Wars content.
So good.
Is background on the thing, but we kind of knew that, so that's good though to hear confirmation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that, it's actually in the works.
It was a pretty good indication that things were going to, whether it be a sequel to this or just other Respawn / EA Star Wars games, it was a good indication that was coming when they promoted the CEO of Respawn to have greater power in the rest of EA. So that's probably a pretty good indication of what's to come.
He became Lord EA. Oh man, I'm ready. I'm ready for more. And I guess what this means is I have stuff to hold me over until then, like a New Game Plus and whatever this challenge mode is, where I'm going to make just the most absurd challenge that's going to make you so angry, and then I'm going to force you to play it. Can I do that? Can you share the challenge?
I don't know. That'd be kind of cool.
I hope so.
All right, now on to the biggest of the Star Wars news, the one that officially came from Star Wars themselves on Star Wars Day the other day. Headline: Academy Award winner Taika Waititi to direct and co-write new Star Wars feature film for theatrical release. Oscar nominee Krysty Wilson Cairns to co-write screenplay with Waititi.
Even though I already knew that, the chills that I get with the confirmation.
Well, you didn't get to read the story. You only just saw the headline when I sent it to you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Academy Award winner Taika Waititi, who recently won Best Adapted Screenplay for Jojo Rabbit and directed the widely acclaimed first season finale episode of The Mandalorian on Disney+, will direct and co-write a new Star Wars feature film for theatrical release. Joining Waititi on the screenplay will be Academy Award nominee Krysty Wilson Cairns, who worked on 1917 and Last Night in Soho, though they didn't say what she did for it, which would have been helpful. Who received the BAFTA Award for Outstanding British Film of the Year on the 3-time Oscar-winning film 1917. In addition, Emmy-nominated writer Leslie Headland of Russian Doll and Bachelorette, which is confusing, is currently developing a new untitled Star Wars series for Disney+. Headland will write, executive produce, and serve as showrunner for the series, which adds to a growing list of Star Wars stories for Disney's streaming platform, including The Mandalorian, now in post-production on Season 2, and 2 other previously announced series, one based on Cassian Andor's life prior to the events of Rogue One's A Star Wars Story, and another following the adventures of Obi-Wan Kenobi between Star Wars Revenge of the Sith and Star Wars A New Hope. Release dates for both Waititi's and Headland's projects have not yet been announced.
Naturally.
So this joins what we no to be confirmed, semi-confirmed. A trilogy for Rian Johnson, a movie for Kevin Feige, a movie for Taika Waititi, and I think there was one other movie that had been announced for someone as well, and I don't 100% remember who.
Right. I vaguely remember that as well. Oh, boy. Yes. More things with Taika. Just everything. I hope Korg's in it somehow. It's like just cross over the universe.
Could you imagine all the times, the many, many times that people have asked for some sort of Star Wars crossover with other things like Marvel, what have you, if that's how you do it with a Korg.
It's like the same, his voice, Taika Waititi's voice, with the same humor, but it's a Rancor. And he's like a lead character.
I think that would be not 100% feasible to have the lead character of a Chopia Rancor.
That's fair. I mean, would it be better or worse than Life Day?
I mean, it literally couldn't be worse.
Oh man, I thought about that the other day. And I was like, the most memorable thing about that was the Chinese food we had that night was pretty good.
That's right, we did have Chinese food, didn't we?
But then I was starting to get like these flashes of the thing that we watched, and it was including Cranky Kong getting off, and it was it was, oh man, that Star Wars special it's something.
It's the worst. Speaking of which, did you watch the Parks and Rec reunion?
I did not.
It's disappointing.
How was it?
It was fun. It was funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't it doesn't
it,
measure up to like an all-time episode of
Sure.
Parks and Rec, but in this time right now where making anything new is borderline impossible, where a lot of shows that really should have been completed being made weren't and got postponed. And I'm not even talking about things that are supposed to be coming out now. I completely had forgotten. Why didn't Fargo, the new season of Fargo, release in the beginning of April? Because everything didn't start getting shut down until the middle of March. Why were they not done making that show?
That's a good question.
Like,
don't know.
2 weeks before the show was supposed to drop. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's
that being
weird.
said,
It's probably something about positioning it because they're going to have something else, like other stuff won't be ready. So like rather than have a large gap later, they'll have a smaller gap now and then another smaller gap. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm just thinking that
that's my guess at least.
Now is the time to get your stuff out. Movies are pushing their release dates. Movies are going direct to video. TV shows, this is the time to steal all of those eyes, right?
Yeah,
everyone's at home. They're craving content. Everyone, like people like me, listen, I love movies, I love TV, I watch a ton of it. I am a huge, avid sports fan. There are no sports. Sports do not exist currently. There is a huge section of the population who is looking for anything to occupy their time because they don't have sports. Like right now, the NBA and NHL playoffs should be going on, and they don't exist. Baseball should be rounding into full form after the first month of baseball. Like, there is a lot of eyes to program for if you have the content majority finished. I would have to imagine at the point, like, they're not shooting the show anymore.
Right.
It's post-production. Like, you can't do that remotely. You can't do that from home. You can't edit those things from home. I don't understand.
I don't know. I don't know how it works. My dumb brain says, sure you can, but I don't know how complicated it is.
All I know is other shows that are debuting a month or more. Billions just started back. The new season of Billions just started this week. I didn't get to watch the first episode. Super fucking excited for that. A full month later, that show debuted. It was all done. They're running it.
I would put money on the fact that it's more about like strategic timing of other things and spreading out how they're going to drop stuff because they're going to run out of things.
Well, they've already been clearing the board of some of these things. There were a bunch of shows that were pushed back. They can't currently make anything new. It's going to push back things that we're supposed to be releasing in the future. Those things are going to get pushed back by this because they can't make them right now. So why wouldn't you seize the opportunity? You're not doing this like an IV drip.
No. That's exactly why you would do it. Is you would because your things are being pushed back indefinitely. They don't know when they're going to be able to start production on certain projects that have intended release dates. They keep pushing that out. Now, if they were to drop something new right now, and it's all they have, I don't know how much they have. If it's all they have, then you're talking about a huge potential gap that they have no control over in between. But if they're able to hold off a little bit and make it two smaller gaps rather than one giant one, that would probably be the reason.
You mean for that show or for other FX?
For other FX things.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, right now, there are other people reaping the benefits of so many more people who are craving things to watch right now. I mean, you see people seizing on any new
but
thing
that could be it too. Like, eventually the well will dry up, and at that point, they still have something to play.
Maybe. That's a weird bet to make to me. Like, people are desperate right now for things to divert their attention to. You're never going to get a more hungry audience for your product than right now. And betting on it being more in the future is a weird bet to make.
I don't think it's betting on it necessarily. Well, that's a potential part of it, but I think it's more along the lines of making the gaps smaller.
Yeah,
that's my best guess, at least. Are there any other Star Wars news?
No, those were all the Star Wars news.
They were great. That wasn't a lot.
No, I was kind of expecting more, but I wonder if they held some things in reserve because of what's going on, where they wish they could.
Possible.
They want to, maybe have a big event. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. It's not every day you get to have the Emperor come out on stage and cackle.
Exactly. So you want to make the most of those sorts of moments. But
yeah.
The only other things I have is that, I'd like to be watching Billions and What We Do in the Shadows. I just haven't had the time to. I've watched the first few What We Do in the Shadows, but
I am in the first. I think I'm in like the third episode of the first part of the final season of The Sopranos, which is just a mouthful. But
even bigger mouthful than FX on Hulu.
Yeah. So that's going on. That's been put on hold for a bit, just because I've it's just too much. And Scrubs is just in full force, and I adore the show. All I can think while I'm watching it is this show was ahead of its time, like, and in a really great way.
Absolutely,
because it's so perfect right now.
Yeah,
like it's sure, like there's like maybe there'll be a dated joke here or there, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's so they are so funny, and they all seem it's that perfect combination of like great writing, awesome music throughout the whole show. There's always good music, amazing chemistry, and everybody's clearly having a good time on set. Yeah, like clearly having a good time, and you have a good time because of it, even when it's like a depressing episode, which like they really punch you in the gut. Like, I don't know, every 50 minutes of showtime, it's there kicking you in the nards.
Do you think it's that? Do you think it's that often? I don't recall. It's been, unfortunately,
50 minutes of showtime is like every 2.5 episodes.
Yeah, I know. Well, have you been putting it on Plex? Because I have been itching to rewatch that.
I have, yeah. It's really funny because I couldn't figure out how else to get it, and
it used to be on Netflix. It's not on there anymore.
Yeah, and then half of so far all of season 2 has these subtitles that I don't know what language it is, and I can't get them off. But it's fine. It's great. I'll deal with that.
It's funny because I really want to rewatch that, but I don't even have time to watch everything right now that I have to watch.
Sure.
I didn't get to watch Homeland finale when it happened. I'm still several episodes behind that. I watched half an hour of the movie we're doing tonight in my car this morning, like waiting to start work. I just don't have time ever, it seems like. But between Scrubs and Hannibal, I desperately want to rewatch both those shows that I love so much, because I saw Hannibal was put on Amazon recently. I was like, oh,
nice.
That'd be super convenient to watch. And then my brother started watching because he watched it alongside me and my mom in the first season when it was running. And then I think he got lost somewhere during the second season and didn't keep up with it. So he's now into the third and final season. So
classic peanut gallery. All right. You want to do some fun and games?
Let's do it.
I got a weird one. This comes from my finding of this movie that we're going to do later in a bit. And it is
Which, by the way, you're gonna have to run us through that again, like exactly what made you want to watch this movie.
Sure, of course. Which Netflix genre should you try? And the reason why this one piqued my interest, well, first off, I found this movie that we're going to do later in a bit on Netflix. And like Al said, we'll get into that. But there's I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's like a whole genre code index for Netflix where like they have like all sorts of genres that are just absurd. And I'm really hoping that that's where this quiz goes. I hope it dives deep and gives me something really weird.
I am familiar that there is like a secret library of things that you can access that way. I think I might have done it once just for like shits and giggles, but I've never looked up the stuff really to like take advantage of it.
Sure. All right. We're 13 questions. All right. Not so bad. What TV show did you prefer to watch as a kid? Double Dare 2000, Arthur, Lizzie McGuire, The Rugrats, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or Legends of the Hidden Temple?
Rugrats.
Nice. Good choice. I probably would have went Legends.
You want to know something crazy? I haven't seen Rugrats in fucking forever. And not last weekend, the weekend before that, it was like Saturday night, could not find something to watch. I think we were all drunk here. And it was like 11:30. I was flipping through the channels, like, oh, Rugrats, here we go,
100%.
And watched some literally like old like classic Rugrats, like shit that I remember watching when I was like 5 years old.
Nice. Years ago, there was like this live Rugrats show in the city somewhere around Times Square, and I saw that. It was weird.
I bet.
What do you do in your spare time? Read or listen to music? Watch TV? Hang out with my friends? Remember hanging out with friends? Get tense. I dislike it when I have free time. Finish up some chores or errands.
I guess watch TV.
Okay.
Yeah, you remember hanging out with friends? Because the last time I saw / talked to any of my friends was literally a month and a half ago for someone's birthday. We did a Zoom. Haven't done it since then. I saw Caleb the other day, recent guest host, future guest host. Which we need to discuss after the episode, nice. From a socially distancing acceptable range, to drop him off some Alzales.
Nice.
But he's literally the only person I've seen outside of coworkers, customers, and family for over 2 months.
Yeah, it's weird. Pick a music genre. Pop, EDM, rock, country, hip-hop, or folk?
Rock.
Naturally. All right. What's your favorite holiday? Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, Independence Day?
Christmas.
Are you more of an optimist or pessimist?
Depends on the day.
There is an option here at the bottom that says I'm kind of a mix.
That's the one.
All right. Oh, God. I have to put your name in.
Like Social Security too?
Credit card number? Can you give me that real quick?
Date of birth, mother's maiden name.
Bear with me. It's one of those, start search. What is this? Get out of here. Oh, no.
What have you done to me?
Oh, no. Okay, we're good. What is your favorite class in elementary school? Science, chorus, band, English, PE, history, or art?
Science.
Why is math not on there?
I was also wondering that.
Interesting. Have you ever stayed home and watched movies / TV shows all day? It's not really my thing. I like to be out and about. I can watch a few TV shows or movies, but I get tired after a while. Staying home and watching movies and TV shows is heaven to me.
That one.
All right. Which costume would you be found wearing on Halloween? Disney princess, witch or wizard, superhero, some TV show character, a popular trend, an animal.
I guess maybe the TV show character.
Okay.
I was a TV character Halloween at your house a couple years ago.
Which one? Brawny Man?
No. No, what's his name from Home Improvement?
Al Borland.
Wasn't that at your house? Or maybe that... No, that was at Alex's house. Sorry. Wrong Halloween.
All right. If you won the lottery, What would you do with the money? Be honest. Pay off any loans I have, go on a shopping spree, split it between my family, friends, and myself, donate it to charity, or travel.
So this is if I won the lottery?
Yeah.
Problem is I would do like 3 of those things.
Right? That's kind of how I felt.
I guess the one about family and friends.
Yeah. Do you prefer animated or non-animated films / TV shows? Animated for sure, non-animated all the way. I like both.
I guess both.
Okay. Next question. What would you snack on while watching a film? Popcorn, chips, sweets, cereal, pizza, everything.
Everything. I've eaten so many different things while watching TV and movies.
Okay, now if I were to fill in another option on here and say grapes, would you have chosen grapes?
I mean, grapes is one.
What if there was one option that was grapes and cashews?
It's typically.
I know your snacking habits.
It's typically more of a mixed nuts, though. The cashew needs to be a part of the mixed nuts. Grapes. If you're talking about like, I'm sitting in my home alone, like watching something randomly at night.
Uh-huh.
Grapes is going to be on the Mount Rushmore of things that I would choose to snack on. But chips would be on the Mount Rushmore.
Sure.
If I had pizza available to me.
Oh God, pizza all day, every day.
That I would be eating while doing it. So yes, that would also be on Mount Rushmore. And I guess we'd have to make a separate category from chips for this, but goldfish is going to be on there as well.
Nice.
I will still eat goldfish when I'm 90 years old.
I don't know. This just bothered me. People thinking about it right now when you said pizza, and I said anytime, and then the jingle played in my head. When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime. Counterpoint. It doesn't need to be on a bagel.
It doesn't have
You
to
can
be.
always eat pizza anytime.
Pizza is truly the most versatile food. You can eat it for breakfast. You can eat it for dinner. You can eat it for a snack. You can eat it cold. You can eat it hot. You can eat it with so many different toppings.
You should have really started rhyming, because it felt like you were going Dr. Seuss for a minute there, and then you trailed off.
Well, the cadence was definitely, would you eat it in the house?
In the car, yeah, sure.
There's no question about that. That being said, I couldn't find a way to rhyme and get my point across. So,
are you a fan of cliffhangers? No way, they're the worst? Yeah, it keeps me wanting more.
Can we pencil in an option for...
right?
At the end of episodes, yes. At the end of seasons, no.
Oh, I like that.
But so I guess we'll go with yes.
All right. Which actor / actress do you always enjoy watching on screen? Jennifer Aniston, Morgan Freeman, Halle Berry, Chris Hemsworth, Zac Efron, Uzo Aduba.
I'm not familiar with that last one. Let's go with Morgan Freeman.
Orange is the New Black. All right. Oh, that was 13. Here we go. All right. Yeah. Lame. I really thought this was going to be like one of the funky genres. You should try Netflix originals. Great.
I do.
Thanks.
Like some, but
it says you're a listener and you like to get to know more about the person each time. It's no surprise you enjoy television shows with great character development. You grow bonds with these people and you love it. Binge watching has become a sport to you. So you should watch some Netflix originals, such as Orange is the New Black, and binge watch away.
Okay, so I'm just going to throw this out here. Yeah. Yes, some of that was true of me. I'm huge on character development, huge on sticking with the story for a long time and watching how it evolves. That being said, I feel like there's a decent chance that the answer to this is always Netflix originals.
Netflix originals? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they sponsored this.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. I kind of want to go back through it and take it again and like just randomly pick things and see what happens, but I don't care that much.
Pick of all these answers. Like, take down all the ones I did, and every single time pick one that wasn't one that I answered.
Right.
And see if it still comes out as Netflix originals.
Yeah. That's I should probably do that. I am curious because I hate that, but I every once in a while we get a good quiz.
Let's audit this quiz.
Yeah, that's the new segment. Does this quiz suck? All right. With that, shall we get into our flick of the week?
Sure.
The Interview. No, not that one. Released in 1998, unrated, 1 hour and 44 minutes. This IMDb synopsis is a duel between a suspected murderer and a detective pressed by people who want results, but whose skin is really wanted. What? That's not what this movie's about.
Not really. I mean, it is, but it's
phrasing.
I don't know. Well, not the skin is really wanted. Like, I get what they're going for, but they could have definitely phrased that better. And also, as I'm reading that sentence that is horribly phrased, I'm looking at the poster, and why is that poster so suggestive?
Why is he whispering in his ear? Sweet nothings.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like, that doesn't look like someone who's being hunted. That looks like someone who, like, they're about to make sweet, sweet love together.
Right. That's very bizarre. Do you want to give me your tweet length review and rating?
Sure. That is if I can scroll down to where I have that. An interesting flick that makes you want to see where it all goes, but ultimately left me wanting more. 5.5 out of 10.
Wow, interesting. Okay, we're going to be on different sides of the house on this one. I can't read my tweet length review until we get into the spoiler territory, because I feel like it gives away the major point of the movie. But this was a straight up, out of nowhere, 10 out of 10 for me. I loved this movie.
See, the funny thing is, while I was watching this, especially as it was getting later on, I was like, Anthony's going to love this movie. And you know why I knew that? Because while I was watching this, what did this remind me of? One of your favorite books.
One of my favorite books?
Yes. One of your favorite books you read for high school.
The Stranger?
Absolutely. Strong. The Stranger
okay,
vibes.
I can see that.
As I was watching this, it reminded me of that book multiple times. I was like, Anthony's going to end up loving this movie.
Oh, God, and did I? This was a treat.
It's funny, though, that you didn't make that association than I did.
I didn't, because there's a stronger association that I'll make to it, when we get into spoiler territory.
I have other parallels to draw. It's just that one stuck out to me.
Sure. So the backstory on this guy here, when I don't know, 6-7 weeks ago, when I was canceling my flight, you heard that story. Yep. I had to get my refund. I ended up watching Event Horizon. That led to the Event Horizon episode. There was this category that showed up out of the blue on my Netflix scroll. I don't know what else to call it. Like the genres that are curated for you. And it was movies from the 90s. And I was like, okay. And that's where Event Horizon was. And when I was scrolling through that, I came across this one called The Interview. And I was like, what the hell is this? And then I saw Hugo Weaving's face. And I was like, is he a lead in this? Because this is Hugo Weaving, who we're always talking about on this show. Who we frequently lamented not being the lead in anything. Right. And then it makes you question, like, can he be the lead? The answer is yes. And I saw that. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like, we're going to have to watch this. It came out of nowhere. The trailer was interesting. It was like, oh, is this going to be like one of those movies that's in a room? Because if you're going to give me Hugo talking for 2 hours, I'm in. I'm sold. Yeah, because he's awesome.
I definitely don't have any issues with him in this movie. He did a really good job. Although it drove me nuts, that voice he was doing. Just because I know his voice and how his voice is so great.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because he's doing an Australian accent.
I know.
And he really sounded like, and he had mannerisms that reminded me of this Australian guy that I worked with.
No, he did a good Australian accent. It was just specifically like, if I met a person in real life with that voice, I would be so... Because like the other people with Australian accents, like, yes, it tracked as an Australian accent. It just...
But you know what he sounds like.
Yeah. I know what he sounds like, and he's got such a great resonant voice. And then on top of that, where it's like, it's not having anything to do with it being Australian. He had this reedy, like weak, like voice that I was like, oh my God, if that same voice was like an Americanized version, I'd want to slap the shit out of the person with that voice, let alone Australian. Like he just like, he was so like plaintive, like all the time. Like, I don't know. Sure. And it was a credit to the performance. It was just like him, the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. That's fair. Man, it really was a treat. There's not too much I can say pre-spoilers other than shot really well. There's some really cool There's a consistent level of like these like off angle shots that I really liked, where like it's the camera is slightly askew, and it kind of and they do something weird like old school detective show or like movie tropes, and it kind of looks like a Dick Tracy comic here and there. I liked that a lot.
There was some cool or some artful shots that were done throughout the course of the movie. There were things to like in this movie, and there were definite nods to budgetary constraints in this movie. And I think they did do a good job of doing more with less for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
The central arc of the story, I think, was bungled a bit.
Oh, interesting.
I think not that the movie necessarily needed to be longer, because I appreciate the aim for brevity. It was just, it took so long for the story to actually take off that it felt rushed at the end.
Oh, weird.
And that I felt they could have really, like, spread their elbows and explored the space as they were approaching the climax and then the finish of the movie, where it felt some things were rushed at the very end.
I wonder if that has a little bit more to do with your viewing experience than the actual movie, because the way that these things unfold, because there's like maybe 2, 3, I don't know, 100 twists in it, like, but they are condensed towards the end, and it is, in my opinion, the way that it's twisted like that is to unseat you, because you think you're like, oh wow, this is just like a dark situation that we found ourselves in, and then it gets weird, and then it gets weirder, and you're like, what is happening? And all of that happens so abruptly and so quick that you can't really keep up in that moment, and like until you reflect on it after the fact, and it's really twisted, and I love it.
The problem is, like, I called the exact ending of the movie, and it's because it clearly borrows from other movies that did it before, like in the very immediate, like, future or past, in the very immediate past, right before the movie came out.
Spoilers going forward, just because I know what movie you're about to bring up.
Which one?
And it gives the answer to this movie. So
which movie?
Well, from here on out, we will be talking spoilers for the interview. I personally loved it. Al's out of 5, I'm out of 10. If you side generally with me on these things, you don't have to go anywhere. Put the movie on. It's on Netflix before listening to the rest of this.
I mean, when my grade, I don't mean to dissuade or totally crush the movie. I was kind of sitting in the 5 to 6 range. I settled on the 5.5. It's not a terrible movie. It's not. I didn't hate it. Like, I didn't walk away like, oh my God. Like, it's just, I was a little disappointed at it, because the way it started off, I was actually really interested, and I just didn't feel like it stuck the dismount for me. But anyway, what movie were you going to bring up?
All right, so we're in spoiler territory from here on out. I'm assuming that you're referring to The Usual Suspects.
That was clearly a heavy influence in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree.
And so was the movie Seven.
Yeah. Yep.
The third one I have was obviously a movie that came out after this, but I also felt heavy shades of it was Law Abiding Citizen.
I don't know if I saw that.
Gerard Butler. That's
maybe I did.
It's not like an amazing movie, but it is an entertaining watch, despite how dark and brutal it can be. But just, it's one of those movies that if you go in and you don't know anything about it, you're likely to be entertained by the twists and turns of that movie. And it is a pretty well made movie overall. I mean, it's a little bit cheesy, it's a little bit contrived, but it is an entertaining. Entertaining is the right word for that movie. It is an entertaining movie.
I have a strange feeling I did see it.
I mean, you probably did. Although I would say it's the type of movie that sticks with you. The twists at the end stick with you.
Okay.
So I would feel like you would remember it. But those were the 3 movies that I really thought about, and also then The Stranger. But yeah, no, there were really 2 heavy influences, obviously, of Seven and The Usual Suspects. And yeah, I kept waiting for, I was like, the ending of this is going to be just like The Usual Suspects, isn't it? And then he absolutely does the thing where he walks out of the fucking courtroom and then he's smiling, you know,
yep.
The courtroom, out of the precinct. I was
Putting
like,
his
come
tie
on,
on.
man, like,
So the way that I had it written, so this is my review, which I was holding off on, this will be more clear why I love the movie so much. This gritty '90s drama thriller is the best Joker introduction we never had. 10 out of 10.
You know what? I would watch the shit out of the Joker played by Hugo Weaving.
Oh my god! Right?
This character.
Yes.
If you had given me this actor with this like type of setup and a better director, I would have watched the shit out of that Joker.
That would be amazing. Absolutely. But no, like, there's a lot going on in there. Like not even just like the Joker, but like kind of like the tropes that I feel like Gotham City is based on, and like just like the corruption of almost like an origin of corruption, and getting to that point of like if it were to keep going, it could get so bad that it becomes Gotham City, and alongside of it, you have a Joker-like character that is being born in this same world, and it is so bizarre, and Hugo Weaving is I think he's tremendous in this movie.
He is.
He's like you know what it is? He switches gears like I've never seen anybody switch gears.
And it's like, it's unsettling, but it doesn't feel inconsistent.
It's like, right. And like he did it, and you're like, it's so obvious that he did it, but you're questioning, like he was so convincing before that you're wondering like, oh, is this what's happening now? Like he really, and then you settle into that, and then something else changes, and then the fact that he gets to switch gears again and go back, I was like, this guy's out of his mind. And I love it. So what I'm talking about is he's timid, he's scared, he's confused early on, doesn't know what's going on. Then all of a sudden, in an instant, he gains control of the interview room. And he is the one that everybody's listening to, and he's basically, I'm asking the questions now, is basically where we get to.
You know, for a minute, I was like, okay, this is adding up enough where he's literally just going to do this to get a meal, because like he's that down on his luck. And that to some small extent, that was true. Obviously, It wasn't actually the main bent of what he was going after. But, I was like, for a minute, I was like, he's just hungry, isn't he?
Yeah.
And the attention thing, there was certainly something to that, although it wasn't just that. But I did find trying to parse what was actually at play here. The problem I had was they introduced the whole investigation of the cop too late in the movie. If they had planted that seed earlier on, I think my grade for this would have been a lot higher, because I think that the issues I had with the ending of the movie would have been much less, maybe non-existent. It felt like that was so rushed, and we spent so much time where, like...
I feel like that happened early.
Not really.
Well, I am going to be rewatching it because I'm excited about it. But no, I don't remember... I don't remember like feeling like there was a drag between finding that information out.
No, it's just that towards the end, they started spending so much time on the investigation of the cop, disproportionately to the amount of time you continue to spend with Hugo Weaving's character. Was he Fleming, Mr. Fleming? That like I felt like at one point there's like almost 10 minutes before, like, between where you like had last seen him on screen. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, I guess the thing though that you get out of it is you have this inkling of these corrupt cops, but to what degree you're not sure.
Well,
and then it gets a little bit more serious.
They don't come out and say it though until like almost halfway through the movie.
It's not that long. It's not that long before the reporter's in there looking for more information, and he's clearly looking at corruption within the department.
Yeah, but I didn't even know he was a reporter at first.
Oh, weird. No, that was super obvious to me. I have a feeling that I do think that the breaking up of the movie definitely screwed with you. Maybe.
The thing is, when that guy showed up, I took note of him because he's the only other actor in the movie I recognized.
Right.
So, wait, what did you recognize him from?
I don't know. I just know his face.
Okay, so do you remember that terrible movie from roughly 20 years ago, the Rob Schneider movie, The Animal?
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, he was the doctor who stuck all the animal parts in him.
Got it. Perfect.
So
Perfect.
As soon as he walked on screen, I was like, "Isn't that guy from The Animal?" a movie that I've watched way too many times for how bad it is.
That's really fun. I definitely have only seen that movie once.
I mean, it was one of those movies that would like be on like a movie channel or like Comedy Central, like 15 years ago. So like, I've seen the movie like probably 5 or 6 times. And so as soon as he walked on screen, I was like, "That's the guy from The Animal." But I thought he was gonna turn out to be like some like psychiatrist or something like that, because I feel like they didn't say what he was when he showed up on screen.
I would definitely not confused about what he was.
It wasn't until he gives him the tapes at the end that I realized he was the reporter that the guy was talking about.
Oh no, he talks about some story that he's run like early on.
I don't remember that. Well, it's not just that I remember it. Like, I just don't think I got it. Now, it's also possible the audio on this wasn't great.
I was actually just going to say that. I watched the entire movie with subtitles on because I couldn't understand them.
I had to keep turning the audio up higher and higher. And, like, when I started watching the movie, I was alone. And then, like, 5 minutes in, my brother came into the room. And then 10 minutes in, my dad came into the room. And I had to explain to them what we were watching.
Yeah, you were distracted watching.
And I had to keep turning the volume up.
Yep, you broke it up. You were distracted. You couldn't hear what they were saying. That explains a lot more.
It was more about the volume issue, because I knew that I was supposed to pay attention to that guy. That guy was important. Yeah. I literally didn't know who he was.
It was definitely 98. I feel like is before they figured out sound mixing.
Yeah. Well, because the thing was, like, the music, well, especially like the title music, which they end up reusing that theme, is dramatic.
Irritating trumpet. What was it? Dramatic trumpet?
Distracting trumpet. Yeah.
Distracting trumpet.
Yeah. Well, I came up with, and honestly, someone may have said this term before. I don't recall it. But I'm gonna, for henceforth, that sound, not that sound, the sound that I'm about to describe is going to be called the horror strings. You know, when they do the it sounds like cascading, like, you know, and it's like thing that's in all like horror movies. We're gonna call them horror strings from now on.
I thought you were kidding. That is what it says in the subtitles.
Does it really?
That music, it's something horror. It's horror something strings. Yes.
Fantastic. Because I'm sure someone's probably called it that before. I've never seen it called that before.
It's amazing.
That's what I always think of them as, and that's what we're going to call them officially on the show. The horror strings.
There are other things that play. Like each time there was like something along those lines, there was a cue of what kind of sound effect and music is being played, and that was one. That's when it starts to get like really weird and creepy. Like it said something along the lines of horror strings, and solemn piano was another one. And, like there were a few of them. It's really funny. It does call out like the horror nature of it, though.
This reminds me of, because I know you've played the first 2 games, even if you don't remember them very well. Mass Effect. There is a race of alien in the games that everything they say is in a complete monotone.
Okay.
And their species, when they talk to each other, a lot of their communication is done through pheromones and very subtle movements and gestures.
Right.
And all of those subtleties are totally lost on other species.
Okay.
So when they're speaking to other species, they announce the emotion.
Amazing.
That they're delivering the sentence.
Okay.
With.
This sounds vaguely familiar.
So when, solemn piano and horror strings is reminding me of that, because, you'll hear, well, one of my favorite stupid lines, every once in a while in a game, like, running around, there's like an NPC. It's like, oh, let me talk to them. It says I can talk to them. But they just deliver like a line.
Uh-huh.
And so there's one of those, and it's on like the Citadel, and it's one of the diplomats of that race. And he says, "Human, delighted welcome. It is good to see you."
Oh, man. That's
and there's
great.
like, every time you talk to one of them, there's one of them where you're intimidating one of them, and the guy says, "With barely constrained terror," and then he says the line, and like there's like a whole bunch of those different things. And as I'm saying, like, solemn piano, horror strings.
Oh my god, That's great. But yeah, the subtitles were actually hugely important watching the movie for me. Only because I already have issues with deciphering like what people are saying when the sound is crystal clear. So in something like this, especially when you layer in accents on top of it and then distracting trumpet, it's a little bit difficult to get through. But having them on was huge because then it was like everything made sense. And then also there were words that they were saying that before I put the subtitles on, I was like, what are they saying? Like, what? And I realized they were just words that I don't use. And I was like, let me look these up so that I could understand what's going on. Like, I didn't understand what on the dole meant until I looked it up after the fact, and it was an unemployment, basically.
Yeah, no, I know that one. Well, the thing is that, and I think that's one of those ones that Australia and Britain actually share, but there's a lot of like slang and colloquialisms that we are familiar with from the British lexicon that are like we're not as familiar with Australian lexicon.
Right. So yeah, I could see that being. I don't remember being even remotely confused about who that guy was, and I do think that it has to do with the dialogue. So it's very possible that there are things that were lost because you didn't know everything that was being said.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely, and that was especially true of like the first like 10 to 20 minutes is like there was a lot of distractions for me. And I'm like, can everyone just shut the fuck up? Like I'm I'm happy to have you guys watch the movie with me. We'll pause it if you want to ask me what's going on because you're a couple minutes late. But like then there's people in the next room and they're making noise and I'm like, listen, like in the best of circumstances that's not great, but this is like quiet audio. There's a heavy accents. It's a different dialect and I'm like, you're killing me here.
Yeah, I probably watched this movie in the best setup possible for that. I had noise canceling headphones on and I was sitting on the couch and I had the screen very close to me with the subtitles on. It was
I've been
all of those
struggling
things
to
are
get
important
through these movies because with the quarantine and with watching anything that I want to watch, part of the reason I don't have any free time is my whole family is here all the time because my mom's out of work. My dad's working from home. My sister's doing college from home. Like, and then, if my brother comes over, he's working from home. I don't have the ability to get away.
Sure.
Which is a weird complaint to make because I love them. I love spending time with them. But like, and so then I feel like a dick when I'm like, oh, hey, we're all together and you guys all want to do something, but I'm going to go fuck off for 2 hours. Like,
yeah.
And also, can you guys stay away and leave me alone?
So, all right. So getting back into it, there were a couple of fun things that I wanted to get to. Early on, we just the epitome of douchebag cop is Pryor, right? That's his name, isn't it?
I believe so. Although I didn't know that until the last 15 minutes of the movie.
God, he was infuriating. Always like he was. I've in movies and TV, you may have heard somebody described as a hard-on, and this is that.
You know who he reminded me of? Are you a fan of There's Something About Mary?
Yes.
You remember the cop he also played the bad guy in Kindergarten Cop?
Yes.
Who beats the shit out of Ben Stiller? That's who that guy was.
Yes, 100%.
Who's like 100% certain this guy is guilty of being like a heinous criminal. And he's like, if there wasn't cameras and everyone around, I would literally shoot you right now.
With the cop, I was like, this guy's I can't. I was like, I hate him. I know exactly. Like, I know this guy. I was like, I hate him. I want him to be wrong or put out or like something hard. Like, I just don't want him to be happy.
Well, he was just entirely too much.
He was entirely too much. And he starts off that way. And we're in Hugo Weaving's apartment and we're tearing shit apart. We're throwing things around. And I was like, is this necessary? Is this how it really goes? I'm still very curious about this. Always portrayed in movies this way of just like pulling drawers out. That's a thing. Like, right, a drawer is pulled out and dumped and just thrown on the floor. Like, I know it's for dramatic effect in movies. Is this based on some real thing? Anyway, that's not really my point. My point is this guy sucks. And I want him to be sad and miserable by the end of the movie. And I'm like, and I want Hugo Weaving to be the good guy just because I like Hugo Weaving. So I'm rooting for him. But something never sat quite right with me in that early opening scenes, and that was anybody that has that many newspapers is a serial killer.
Yeah.
And it's like, I knew that from the beginning simply because of the stack of newspapers. Also, the lack of decorations on the wall and the fact that he was sleeping in an armchair. I know he's on unemployment, and I know that he's not doing so great right now, but he had just the serial killer's apartment.
He did, but like the backstory was convincing enough where you could buy into it enough. The newspapers,
sure. The newspapers are the nail in the coffin.
That it is, but the other stuff tracked with my wife left me, I lost my job, I have nothing going for me.
Sure,
this is literally the only like furniture that I own. Especially
the fish. The fish really plays right into it. There seems to be a certain level of compassion of he actually takes care of this thing because it's alive. But it's crazy.
Which is funny. Well, that's an important detail though, because that also introduces doubt.
Mm-hmm. It does. There is doubt all the way through because it's never actually stated for certain that it's him, and he introduces more doubt because he has consistently said early on in the movie, me or someone that looks like me.
Yeah.
Well, which is hugely important.
Not 100% the narrator, but he does at times delve deeply into unreliable narrator territory.
Oh, yeah. Of course. But, and it's like, and the reason that I feel like that they did that final sequence the way they did, where it's Hugo Weaving with long hair and getting into a car with, like hitchhiking into, clearly this is the next victim. And it's like, but you're forced to ask yourself, him? Or someone that looks like him, because he's planted this in your head 40 minutes earlier, and he keeps saying it subtly throughout the interrogation.
I couldn't tell if his hair was actually longer or if it's just the wind blowing it so rapidly.
I think it was longer.
It did look longer, but the wind was whipping it so much that I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah. No, I hear that. But man, I really liked it. They also love the concept of we have this cop who is we find out he's being investigated. It seems so clear that it's the other cop that's the bad guy that we need to worry about because he's such a hard-on.
Yeah.
That the one that seems to be playing by the rules, but he's really just playing by the rules enough to get by, is the one that we really have to put under the microscope because he knows how to do this too well and get away with it. Where the other guy is just a hothead.
They looked like they were playing good cop, bad cop, but they were secretly playing bad cop, bad cop.
And bad cop, worst cop.
Yeah. Do you remember that line from the other guys?
Not really.
It was such a stupid joke, but it cracked me up the first time I saw it. They're interrogating the billionaire guy who they think is a criminal, who is a criminal. And he goes, we're going to go in there. You're going to be good. Mark Wahlberg's in. You're going to be good cop. I'm going to be bad cop. And they get in there, and Mark Wahlberg is getting in his face. And he goes, he grabs him by the shirt, and he's shaking him, and he goes, I want to talk to him. He's reasonable. And he's pointing to Will Ferrell, and he goes, oh, you want to talk to me? You want to talk to me? And he's screaming, you want to talk to me? And he's trashing the room, and they get thrown out, and Mark Wahlberg goes, what the hell was this? He goes, I don't know, man. You told me we were going to do bad cop, and I saw what you were doing, and I knew I had to come in even like more over the top. He goes, bad cop, what are you talking about?
Oh, man. That's so great. Yeah. So one of my favorite things about this is it's kind of like this two sides of the same coin thing. It's this whole Batman Joker thing. They're both like, Hugo Weaving is playing the game of he knows that they've done some things wrong in the interview. He basically knows he's going to walk early on, and he's playing the game to get himself to walk because he knows enough about the law to do so.
And that's why I brought up Law-Abiding Citizen, because that was like same playbook.
That sound okay. I definitely I'm now 90% certain that I've seen that movie.
Yeah, the whole now the intent was different, but the whole point of Law-Abiding Citizen was he was trying to point out a lot of the flaws in the legal system.
Right.
Whereas Hugo Weaving's character wasn't doing that on some like stand of morality.
No.
Per se.
He on the Joker stance of just because he can.
Yeah, both of them were using their knowledge of the rules and the loopholes in those rules.
Right.
In order to benefit themselves. The reasons are different, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And then so and then the cop is he's just all frustrated that they're gonna basically let this guy walk, and uses the same tactic, but you're supposed to you're supposed to feel like he's a little bit more justified, I guess, because he's technically the good guy in the room at this present moment. But it's like it just keeps raising these questions of like, do the means justify the ends, like of how they're going about the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just a really I think it's just an incredibly well done story. While a certain aspect of it is, I think, like the whole thing that you mentioned of it, like basically being the usual suspects ending, like yeah, totally, completely agree with you on that. What I like about the movie though is that while that's a fun ending, and not fun, but I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a good ending. It's a solid cap to the story. That's not really what the story is about. It's more about this like bastardizing the system and how the system is inherently broken because of the way that both parties are having to operate within it, because they can't change it, so they're manipulating the system with their actions. It's just it's just super intense.
See, that was, again, I appreciate that, but I felt like they introduced that dynamic too late in the film. I thought that was something that they needed to start. Like, honestly, this is the type of movie that maybe would have benefited with knowing something about the cop before the arrest was made.
I don't know. I disagree. I really, there's no way to actually to validate this, but it seems that a lot of these issues could have potentially been overlooked with seeing it straight through without distraction and understanding everything that was being said.
Maybe, but I had the gist of what was going on. Like,
but that's the thing. It's not actually a complicated story.
It's not, which is why I feel like I didn't really miss anything.
But it seems like you got a lot of those hints later on in the movie. If you were up to speed on them going in, you're able to focus on how these characters are approaching the situation, pretty much knowing who they are. The only one that is a gray area for me throughout is Hugo Weaving, because you don't know for sure. And again, it's because he places the doubt in you of like, is he actually this bad guy? Everybody else, I feel like you kind of get to know early on, and you're able to kind of understand exactly where they're coming from with their decisions and why they do certain things.
Well, when did they tip off then that he had compliance issues and was going to be overwatched by like their internal affairs?
The tip off happened somewhere along the time when the hot-headed Pryor says something to the reporter, and you start to get some hint that like, oh, it seems like Pryor's just trying to get one over on him, and then the reporter says something about like some previous issue that the guy has had.
Did I miss a section of this movie? Because I have no memory of that interaction.
And you don't? Do you remember what's the cop's name? Why can't I think of his name?
Steele?
Steele. How did I forget that the cop's name is Steele? What do you recall when Steele pulled Pryor out and slammed him up against the wall?
No.
Oh, okay. You missed an entire portion of the movie then.
Then that explains my confusion.
Yeah, this is all fairly early.
I don't remember that at all.
Okay, so that's probably why you were lost.
Like, that doesn't even sound familiar to me. Like, oh yeah, I guess I forgot that.
He goes, let's go take a walk, and him and Pryor go outside. They go upstairs and they go outside in the building, and he grabs him by the shirt and he throws him up against the wall and he starts choking him with his arm. And you're like, oh, this guy's aggressive. And then he's like, don't you ever like question me or like tip somebody off on me when I'm the one that's trying to do things like and get things done. Like it's intense, and it's like it seems maybe a little bit like it's just like the classic like IA issue within a cop drama.
Yeah.
But there's more to it, obviously, from how aggressive he is in that scene.
Okay, I mean that makes some sense. It does kind of cut through a little bit of my confusion with the whole situation, but even if you like want to backdate that timeline to me, I still feel like it all wrapped up very quickly, that storyline, where I feel like they had a lot to say about, like, this movie clearly had a message it wanted to say in addition to what was going on about the nature of these relationships between, the law enforcement and the people who they are supposedly protecting versus the people that they should be arresting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, what's his name even has a phony little diatribe about it, right? Hugo Weaving has a phony little diatribe about, you read about this in the newspaper and you just think, well, they must be crooks. And I was like, okay, well, that seems a little phony. But the thing is, overall, you can see that the movie is trying to get at that, right? And even like the internal politicking of police precincts and the ends justifying the means versus doing things by the letter of the law, and whether those two things can exist at the same time or whether one is better than the other. And it never reveals a conclusion on that stand front. It didn't spend enough time delving into it. It felt like some of it was lip service. Like, there are ideas there for sure. I don't think the execution was particularly strong.
No, it's interesting. I disagree. I think what we get out of Steele is he has the way that they unfold his character and his past to you, while not going into details, you realize you learn that he has done things in the past that have been under investigation.
Yeah.
You find out that more than once in the past couple of years he's been in an interview based on his behavior. You don't know specifically what he's done, but you get a sense of how aggressive he can be with that scene. Again, going back to the roof where he pushes the Pryor against the wall. But you're like, okay, so he can get aggressive. So you have to start to doubt him and his motives and how far he'll go. And then what you were basically getting to is he's basically just a jaded cop, jaded by the system, who is constantly brought in to get results, but then feels like his hands are tied. And that was
well, that
pretty
part
on
I
the
got
nose.
because he literally said the words.
Sure, but the what you don't know is the lengths that he'll go to, and you're curious exactly how far he'll go, and they don't reveal that hand until the very end, where he'll feed the story to the reporter, basically knowing that he's probably getting let go after this stuff leaks out because he's the only person that knows it, and it's like he by the end of the movie he goes rogue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting. There is I think that's actually really cool. I think that's a solid story, and I think there's a lot of depth to that character for that reason, because like you're supposed to he's not the bad guy. He's not the best guy, but in the room he is technically the good guy. It's just that he's not going about things the right way, but he mentioned his hands are tied. He feels that way. He feels cornered basically. And he still wants to get the bad guy, or in his mind, who the bad guy is. And seeing what lengths he'll go to and how far he'll take it, it's the whole Batman Joker thing of like, if you keep pushing Batman, eventually does he just become a villain with the actions that he does? Like, if he just slips over into the side of killing someone, isn't he just as bad as the villains? And I feel like we're pushing this cop to that point with the way that the system is working against him, and just like every time that he has to do something against code a little bit, it gets worse and worse. Like it kind of escalates a little bit more. There's I found.
But that's the thing, though, is that's the sort of thing that you want to explore. That sense that the guy who's going to cut the corner, who's going to go too far, and if he's going to keep cutting the corner, going too far, when does it come to fruition? And it doesn't feel like that really happens.
It doesn't come to fruition because you're right. We are left hanging by the end there, but I think there's something in that ending of the uncertainty and then kind of wondering, how far will this guy go? Like, how crazy can this get? What's his next play? Like, is he going to leave it there? Because he doesn't seem like the type of guy that's actually going to leave it there. Maybe he's going to actually go off the gun and badge and, like, I don't know, go after this guy or something. I was going down that road, and I kind of liked that ending. I'm hit or miss with the open adjacent ending, which is what this is, where like we have the answers by the end, in my opinion, on who these people are. We just don't know where it goes next. And it feels like that's what you're mostly frustrated with, is like there is not actually a full on conclusion to this storyline. Is that accurate?
No, well, for one thing, I kind of figured it was going to end up with him walking out, giving you some inclination that it was him. I said, and then this is going to end with him selecting his next victim. So I called it verbatim. So I was fine with that because, one, I saw it coming, and two, it actually did make sense for what was going on, considering you never get really clear picture of whether or not he's telling you the truth on any of it. But it seems more likely than not that that's the case. So I was good with that. No, my bigger issue with the resolution to the story has to do with the cop storyline and how it pushes the Weaving storyline to the side for like significant chunks around the climax of the movie. And I just didn't feel like it was 100% earned. Now, part of that was me missing it, but even now, thinking back at it, now that I know, oh, it should have been roughly here, insert here where that should have been, it's still, like, I was never confused.
Sure.
Like, I got what was going on. It just never felt like it mattered until all of a sudden it mattered to everyone.
I felt like watching it going into the movie when I put it on and having read the synopsis that was on Netflix, not the one on IMDb, which is just garbage.
I went in totally cold. I just saw the little synopsis on Netflix saying...
I thought that I was going in for a Hugo Weaving driven... like he's like the prime character. He's the lead role. That's what I assumed going in. It within 20 minutes it became clear to me that it's a co-led movie and that there's two storylines going on.
That's fine. It just felt like for me, one of those storylines took too long to get fully off the ground, and then that's the one that paid off at the end. But it didn't feel like the payoff was 100% earned. I didn't have a problem with the fact that one person was the lead of the other. That could be a really interesting storyline. You could do a really interesting storyline on what cops might be corrupt or not, and whether or not that holds, whether or not you need to investigate how far that is going, like you said, ends justify the means versus, letter of the law and all that sort of stuff. And is he the bad guy or is he the good guy? Is he somewhere in between? Like what you were talking about is, I don't know. I didn't feel like they went deep enough into that situation. I just felt like it was a little bit too much on the surface. I feel like they paid lip service to some of those ideas.
That's interesting because it felt more to me like how similar to how Hugo Weaving's character, when he takes control of the room and there's a switch, and then you start to be like, it takes you a second, but then you get your footing and like, oh man, this guy's actually kind of crazy. We're starting to really understand who he is, and the only thing we get more with his character is that he switches back and forth a couple times, so you know that he's unreliable.
Yeah.
With the cop, you are just fed hints throughout that he's unhinged up until the point where he makes one action again that you don't recall, but he makes that one action that is clearly unhinged, where it's a physical aggressive move against somebody else, but it's just that, and you think that maybe he bottles it up right after that.
Yeah.
But he then goes unhinged again with recording, like more unhinged than actually throwing the guy against the wall, recording the conversation that he had with another cop in his interview on his own little recording device, and then feeding that information to feeding the interview with Hugo Weaving's character to the reporter. Like, those are very bad things that he did.
Yeah.
That's like the extent of he's not a murderer, but he's at the upper level of the bad things that he seems that he can probably do. And I thought that I liked the way that they went about that. There is one thing that I came across that I'm kind of curious what you think about. There's an alternate ending to this movie.
Really?
And in that alternate ending, Hugo Weaving again gets out of jail. Similar thing where he tie and all that stuff. But he's walking down the street and he hitches a ride, and the person that picks him up is the reporter. And as they're driving away, you see Steele follow them.
Well, that would attract what they said at the end, because the reporter comes around the pillar and he's kind of watching him. And they said that there was, 4 police officers and 2 trail cars or something like that who were going to follow him around for a long time.
Yeah. Yep. But I don't know. That's kind of cool. An interesting tidbit of an alternate. I feel like the only thing that alternate ending gives you is it's a little bit more definitive. I feel like than what they were going for, which is probably why they pulled back into what it ultimately.
I will say I was a little confused about the specifics of him tying the tie as he's walking down the street. I'm not entirely sure what that was supposed to symbolize.
You know what bothered me about that? Is he didn't. I know he changed before he left, but he was never wearing a tie
or a suit jacket.
No, he put on slacks.
Yeah,
but that was about it. He didn't even change his shirt. I don't think.
No, but it was some sort of button down.
Yeah, that was a little weird. But anyway, I don't think I have many, if any, more notes. Let me just take a quick look here. This is actually pretty cool. Pulled this from IMDb under the trivia section. At the beginning of the New Yorker video DVD, right before the main menu appears. Oh, let me open this up so that I get the whole thing for you. This is pretty cool. At the beginning of the New Yorker video DVD, right before the main menu appears, a quote of Eddie Fleming fills the screen. It says, "Just goes to show you how the mind works." At the very end, after the credits roll, a quote of Detective Steele fills the screen. "I don't know, Mr. Fleming. How does the mind work?" But if you run the end credits a second time, a different quote appears at the end from Detective Pryor that says, "It's about a fucking stolen car, you fucking fuck."
Which is a great line.
Oh man, what dawned on me reading that, I was like, I don't know if you ever really got into this, but for a long time I was super into the DVD Easter eggs. There's so many DVDs that have little hidden things in them.
Yeah, I always want to delve into some of those things for certain movies, and I just never ever do.
Yeah.
I'm always new Star Wars with 20 episodes, 20 minutes of behind the scenes footage and interviews. I'm like, oh, that's something that would be cool to watch one day. Never watch it.
And you never do it. Yeah, I've got of the whatever ridiculous number of movies I have, there's obviously a bonus disc that goes with all of them, and I maybe have watched 2 or 3 things from some of them.
You know which one I desperately want to watch? It's the one for Armageddon.
What is that again? I know there's a thing about this.
Oh yeah, because there's and I've seen the clip, and it is great. And even though I don't I'm able to parse to some extent, right? I don't have an issue with Ben Affleck, the director.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I've always had the perception that he's kind of an idiot. He's definitely an asshole, but I always had the perception he's an idiot, and maybe he's smarter than I realized, especially about filmmaking. And he has made good movies, The Town, Argo, whatever. It's I can't take that away from him. He's done a legitimately good job at making movies.
Yeah.
And so on the Armageddon commentary, he's just poking holes in the script that Bay is working.
Oh,
with
right,
and
right,
all that sort of stuff. And he's I don't remember what the specific line was, but he says "Hey Michael, does this doesn't make any sense why they're doing this thing or whatever?" And he just turns to me, "Ben, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up."
Yeah,
and it's just Ben Affleck clearly talking so down to Michael Bay.
Yep.
In the whole director's comment. I've seen a 2-minute clip. I've seen a more expanded 5-minute version of that clip. I honestly, I would pay to watch him watching the movie and just talking shit about it nonstop. and I enjoy Armageddon. It's not a good movie. It is a fun as hell movie.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
I very much enjoy the movie. It would be funny to watch him just
definitely
rip it scene by scene.
I'd be down with that.
Let's pause this here. Let me tell you why this was fucking stupid. Okay, fair enough. I'm here to hear
it. That's, yeah. I've watched, I feel like when DVDs, the early age of DVDs, when I didn't have many because I couldn't afford them, I would watch the hell out of every piece of content that I could get on them. So, I would like to go back into some of that stuff. That definitely sounds like something fun to watch.
Yeah.
I'm always a sucker for a gag reel, though. A gag reel or bloopers. Love those.
Especially if it's during the end credits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually,
else?
you know what the other one I would want the DVD commentary for is The Abyss. Have you ever heard about that?
I think I've heard about the commentary. No, I think I saw the movie like 100 years ago.
Well, no, I don't think there's a commentary, but there's been a million stories and interviews that have leaked from that in which, like, some of the actors and actresses almost died.
Oh my god.
I think Ed Harris beat the shit out of James Cameron. Ed Harris had a mental breakdown or something like that at one point. Like,
dang.
I forget who it is who plays the female lead. She almost drowned during filming. Like,
Jesus.
Apparently it was so dangerous, so poorly done that like multiple actors and actresses have like, and I'm not even like joking and banding about the word, like, have PTSD from making this movie.
That's crazy. I did not know about that.
Yeah, I had heard something about it like a long time ago. Totally forgot about it. I read something a couple of days ago. I was like, oh, like this kind of tracks to something I've heard in the past, that there was something going on with that movie. I would love to hear more in depth, like what that crazy was all about.
That's funny. Anything else on the interview before we wrap it up?
I wanted to like it more than I did. And maybe my 5.5 was slightly too harsh, but I don't know. It just, like, even what we talked through, like, I know that I missed something, and it's like, okay, like, there's something there, and, like, I get it. Something still just doesn't feel right to me. I don't know.
I am happy to say that I've got another movie that's up there on my list. I feel I one day I really do have to make like a top 10 list, which I feel like will be easier to do if I don't actually rank them in top 10 order, but just choose my top 10 movies. The
top 10 in whatever order.
Yeah, I feel like there's something really this one really clicked with me, and I adore it, and I can't wait to watch it again. That's all for this week's episode of Flix in a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you could send those requests to flixinasix@spintune.com or tweet us at @thespintune. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Biolsi.
Thanks for coming out.